To me, it's simple. I'm going to do what I need to do, wearing a mask, keeping a distance, et cetera, to protect the people around me. I want to protect my family, my friends, my employees. I want to protect my neighbors. I want to protect the business owners in my community. And the way I protect everyone is with courtesy and dignity. And that's what this COVID pandemic requires of us. So please give some thought. This is not the time to think selfishly. This is the time to think about each other. I don't want to share someone else's thoughts. I want to create my own original thoughts. I want to create my own original solutions. I want to look at situations and come up with my own phrasing, my own words, and do it my way.
This is the Jon Taffer Podcast.
Shut it down!
Hello, everybody. It's Jon Taffer. Welcome to my podcast. I don't even know what the hell number it is. And Corey, does it really matter?
No, but it's 19.
It's 9. Oh, okay. Well, it's number 19. Okay. So I just got back, buddy. So I took my 43-foot bus.
Nice.
I drove all the way to Henderson, Kentucky to see my daughter, Sam, son-in-law, Cody, and my grandson, Rhett, for his 1-year birthday party, which was cool as freaking hell. So I drive all the way there, which is, I think, 1,800 miles and change in 4 days. Now we're staying in a bus. So I'm doing this as a quarantine trip. So we loaded the freezer, loaded the refrigerator, everything was on board because we didn't have to leave the bus. The only thing I left the bus for was to fill up gas, which is at the pump, so there was no real contact, and to walk the dogs.
Nice. Yeah.
Which we stopped in grassy areas and stuff like that to walk the dogs. So it was a completely no contact trip halfway across America. On my way there, my daughter Sam tells me how, there's going to be about 40 people at the party and it's at their golf country club and blah, blah, blah. And Nicole and I are thinking, geez, I've been in quarantine for 100 days here in Las Vegas. I've been in quarantine for 4 or 5 days on this road trip. Now I'm going to go to this party and be exposed to 40 people inside this room, and they're not going to be wearing masks and stuff. Can I do that?
Right.
So I decided that I couldn't do that.
It'd be a waste of everything that you'd been doing. Yeah.
Yes, it made no sense. Yeah. So I drove like hell to get there 2 days early.
Okay.
And so I got to spend Friday and Saturday with my daughter and my grandson and my son-in-law all day. It was freaking awesome. Nice. Didn't go to the party.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably better than going to the party,
We had better time together.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it was awesome. So we drove all the way out there, stayed for 3 days, spent amazing time with Sam, Cody, and Red. It was awesome for me. Kid is a really cool kid. We should post a picture online of him because he is one cool little dude. Yeah. And then we turned around to drive back. And we took Interstate 70 there, which goes through the Rockies and Colorado. Then we took Interstate 80 back, stayed in Provo, Utah for a few days because it's cooler up there. Because right now, as I'm sitting here talking to everybody, it's 109 fucking degrees out there. And the sun will melt the hat on your head. Yeah. It's unbearable. So we stayed in Utah for a couple of days, got back Sunday night, and here I am. I'm pretty excited. So it's amazing. So you go away for 2 weeks, and you just were on vacation, Corey.
I was I needed to get out of the heat. I went to California.
So you were away for a week, too.
Yep.
So it's nice to get away, but I tell you, boy, it's sort of nice to get back, too.
It is, yeah. Get back in the workflow and everything.
And we have so much going on with Taffer's Tavern, and so Taffer's Tavern is, we're all on schedule now. We're opening in roughly 60 days from today, maybe in 50 days from today, something like that. Really excited and got a picture yesterday. All the signage is now up on the building and staffing has begun. And so we're really excited and we're now working on our units in Washington and Boston as well. So really, really exciting. And then did I tell you about our new mixer flavor?
No, I haven't heard.
I don't even know if you know this, Corey.
I don't.
So we just introduced a new flavor of Taffer's Mixologist, Spicy Bloody Mary Mix.
Spicy.
Oh,
okay. I thought the first one was spicy.
Well, this next was going to kick your ass. Right. But this one is really spicy. It's available at Walmarts and other liquor stores and stuff across the country. And, man, this one's got a little back end to it, if you will, Corey.
All right. I have to try it.
Yes, I'm pretty excited about that. And then, of course, it's just great to be home and back in the office. A little bummed about California today. California shut down again today. And, I'm very dismayed by what seems to be, backward traffic these past few weeks, Corey. And you were out in California, everything was open. You come back the next day, everything's closed.
Yeah.
It seems like we're moving in the wrong direction. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to different radio hosts and different people are saying, wearing a mask doesn't mean shit. You don't have to wear a mask. It's not going to help anything. And then they're saying, it doesn't matter. I want to present a thought. And here's one thing we could all agree with, every one of us, Democrat, Republican, pro-mask, anti-mask. I think we can all agree with what I'm about to say. If we all, every one of us, stayed home for 30 days, this thing would be freaking gone. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
So if we all agree that if we stayed home for 30 days, this would be fucking gone, then what we're all agreeing to is the fact that not breathing on each other and social distancing works. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Because by staying home, nobody's going to breathe on me. By staying home, I've affected social distancing with freaking walls around me.
Right.
So if the difference between us getting sick and not getting sick is in fact isolation, then why aren't we just having the discipline to force ourselves to be isolated a little longer? And that's the ticket. And when I see in southern Florida, people are having pandemic parties. There's a story somebody told me on the phone yesterday, Corey, I'm not sure it's true, but I'm guessing it is, that because I believe the person who told it to me. There was a party in southern Florida. Every guest had to pay $20 admission fee, and the first person to get COVID got the money.
I saw that.
I mean, This is freaking insanity. What happens to their grandparents, their children, their brothers, their sisters, the car driver, the bus driver, everybody they come in contact with after that? Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to say is, you know what? This is not the time to be fucking selfish as a society. This is the time to be considerate as a society. I look at Black Lives Matters. Black Lives Matters is all about being considerate. Now, I'm not talking about the dark side and the rioting side of it, but the premise of Black Lives Matters, Corey, is to be considerate of black people, white people, to us to be all considerate of each other without any color playing a part of that consideration.
Right.
The whole point of all of these political movements and these things going on right now is specifically to cause us to treat each other with dignity, to treat each other with respect, to treat each other with courtesy. If we did that, black, white, old, young, if we did that, there would be no need for Black Lives Matter, would there? If we did that, we would control COVID, wouldn't we? If we did that, Corey, if I was courteous and so why can't we do that? I don't understand it as a society. Why can't we be courteous to each other and not breathe on you? Keep my breath away from you, Corey. Make sure you don't get sick, buddy. You know what? I like you. You're a human being.
Right.
I want you to be safe. I don't want you to get sick, so I'll wear this fucking thing just to make sure you don't.
And it's not forever.
Correct. Why can't I treat you with the dignity to understand that if I don't wear a mask and if I don't act in this way, I'm going to make you uncomfortable? And do I want to make people uncomfortable around me? Do I want to make people not want to be with me? So none of this makes any freaking sense to me. So I'm pleading with us. Why can't we treat each other with dignity? Why can't we treat each other with courtesy? Why can't we back each other up? If we can just do that, you'll keep a distance from people. You'll put on a mask. You'll treat people with respect. And all of these discriminatory issues that are based in lack of respect will start to diminish. It's easy. It's a simple formula. So I want to ask you, what is going to be your philosophy when you wake up tomorrow morning? Are you going to do what you selfishly want to fucking do? Or are you going to do what's best for us all? Are you going to be a courteous individual or are you going to be a selfish asshole? What do you want to be? Think about it. All righty, here we are. So I got on a rampage here. I guess my voice got a little loud. But to me, it's simple. I'm going to do what I need to do, wearing a mask, keeping a distance, etc., to protect the people around me. I want to protect my family, my friends, my employees. I want to protect my neighbors. I want to protect the business owners in my community. And the way I protect everyone is with courtesy and dignity. And that's what this COVID pandemic requires of us. So please give some thought. This is not the time to think selfishly. This is the time to think about each other. And talking about each other, I love our audience calls, Corey. It's my favorite thing that we ever do. And sure, I love having Mark Cuban and, my other friends and guests on the show. Don't get me wrong, it's wonderful. And I love doing that every once in a while. But my favorite part of the show is audience call in. And Corey, you got a few good ones for this week?
We do. And it's been a while, John. We need to check in with the fans.
Yeah, we haven't done it in a couple of weeks, so let's go do it. I understand the first caller is Steven from Connecticut.
Hello?
Steven.
Hi.
Jon Taffer here. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing?
Good. How are things in Connecticut?
Things are good. Compared to down south and all that, hey, I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely been a lot better up here. We did it right.
Yeah. So are restaurants and bars now all open in the state?
Restaurants are open for outside. Some are doing inside, but minimum capacity. But a lot of them are doing outside, either in the parking lots or the sidewalks. So, yeah, one time, we went out to dinner for Father's Day, actually. We sat inside, but they did very good spacing, throwaway menus, everything was throwaway at the end. So they're doing pretty good as all.
So you felt safe when you were there?
Yeah, I definitely did feel safe.
Yeah, that's awesome. I used to go to, when I was a kid, I went to a private school in Bristol, Connecticut when I was young.
Okay, it's about like an hour and a half from me.
Yeah, and then when I grew up on Long Island, we used to take boats across to Westport and to Connecticut all the time as well. So
that's pretty much the quickest way to get there instead of that long drive.
Yeah, in my younger days, we used to come there very often. I'm not sure I remember all those days though, but we did come there very often.
Nice.
So, what do you want to talk about? What's going on?
So me, I have a strong passion for sports business. I'm very into marketing and connecting with people. One of my goals is to work for a professional sports team, whether it's basketball, baseball, or football. With a lot of these teams letting people go due to lack of revenue and just a change in the environment, does this mean that we can see a rise in younger people getting positions within professional sports teams because they can kind of get away with paying a new employee less than bringing back an older employee who was making more money?
That's a really interesting thought. I'm not certain I agree with your premise, but it's an interesting thought. In today's world, social media, when you start bringing in social media people and digital people and people who are in that type of a marketing space, they always skew a little younger today, right? I mean, my social media team is considerably younger than me. They just have a hipper, more contemporary outlook of the way they go about social media and a greater technological understanding. So I would say yes, based upon that premise, but I disagree with you, and here's why. I'm concerned about the whole future of what I call LBEs, which are location-based entertainment. When you look at things like movie theaters and banquet centers and concert venues, and that whole industry, that whole events-based industry, I'm just not sure it comes back to the level that it did for quite a while. I know that the convention business is going very, very digital, and that so much resources is being put into creating digital conventions and digital trade show floors and digital booth experiences, and everybody is focused on how to create this digital world. Well, here's what I'm concerned about in the sports business. We're not going to see ticket sales come back for quite a while, and I believe if the NFL opened up ticket sales now and did no spacing, that they still would not fill arenas right now because they didn't last year. So ticket sales were down. Arenas aren't full. People are migrating to digital experiences now on their own anyway. I'm a big hockey fan, and I have multi-screen experiences from the NHL and can watch them on my hotel room and all over the road. And, when I'm in town, I go to theirs. I am a season ticket holder. But I can't tell you how many times I'll go to a hockey game or go to a football game or go to a baseball game. And while I'm sitting there, I'll say to myself, shit, I wish I was home. I would have seen that play a little better. Or I wish I was home. I'd love to hear the commentary. I wish I was home. I'd love to. Sure. So, as the digital experience improves, and every league is working on improving it big time now because of COVID, so they have no fans. So what do you think the NBA is going to do? You think we're going to see an empty arena? I don't. I think there's going to be digital fans in that arena. And I think it's going to sound like a regular stadium, at least on television. And I think that they're going to try to...
Especially like with what Mark Cuban was saying a few weeks ago.
Absolutely.
His idea was very good.
So I think that these are the directions that sports is going, and unfortunately, it's all digitally based. So, group ticket sales and premium ticket sales and premium ticket packages, and I think all these kind of things are going to start to get challenged. So when I look at it, dare I say, that whole location-based entertainment world, this is not a time for job growth in that world. It is a time for innovation, for digital brainstorming, and for opportunities, and that tends to open itself up to young people. Anyway, I got to run to the next call, Stephen. Take care, buddy. It was nice talking to you.
All right. Appreciate it. Nice talking to you, too.
Take care, buddy. All right, we have another caller who's the GM of an Italian restaurant also in Connecticut.
Hello.
Nick.
Yes.
Jon Taffer, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, Mr. Taffer. How are you?
I'm doing good. I hear you got a problem with your boss over there, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Give me the scoop.
What's that?
Give me the scoop.
So I work over here in the shoreline of Connecticut, and he has established and created a super successful business, restaurant, small place. We've been open almost 30 years.
Wow.
And for the better part of the last 10 years, I have been running day-to-day operations for him, primarily front of the house, but mostly everything. And we've been probably even more successul, revenue-wise recently than we have been at any other point. So things go really well overall. But he likes to drink. He likes to pick off his own stash, if you will, and it can be a problem. He can, taking out the whole fact that it makes it nearly impossible for me to do a liquor inventory because I never know what he's taking or giving away. He can also berate my staff members and specifically very key members of my management team who I need to do my job. I've tried to have sit-downs with him, discuss drinking and business and all that, and it seems to work for a very short period of time, but then the cycle keeps repeating itself. So I guess my question to you is sort of two-part. One would be if this were bar rescue, kind of how would you look at me and as a partner or manager of his and say, what am I doing wrong? What can I be doing better? And then the second part would be if I was considering buying him out, where would I begin, or what would your recommendation there be?
Okay, so let's pick this apart for you and then for him. First of all, For you, you're in a job where you're stuck right now. You have an owner who's drinking. Obviously, the business is frustrating you, and your opportunity is limited based upon where you're at right now. Fair?
Fair.
Okay, so if he doesn't change, you have to move on. Do you agree?
I do. Yes.
Okay, so accept that, because negotiations only works if you're prepared to say no. So any discussion that you're going to have with your boss is only meaningful if you're prepared to walk away, or it's bullshit.
Okay.
It's not a real discussion at all. So that's within your own head. You got to figure that out, Nick, and you got to make a commitment to yourself that I am going to go talk to him about this. If he doesn't change one of two things, and we'll talk about that in a second, then I'm going to go find another job where I have a greater opportunity for growth and development and a better business opportunity. You got to make that commitment to yourself before you do anything. Next, let's talk about the owner. I'm going to call him George, for lack of a term. I don't think you should say his name on the show.
Correct.
So George, I'm guessing, isn't the youngest guy in the world. He's owned this place for 30 years. I'm guessing George likes drinking. He likes his friends. He likes his social life a lot more than he likes running the restaurant. I'm guessing George is probably Go ahead.
He also has he's made a career change, so he does have another full-time job now.
So he's into you told me he's a fireman? Is that what he is?
Yes.
So now he's into the fire department. He's into his friends. George has a new life. He's excited about being a fireman. He's excited about that part of his life. He's not excited about the bar anymore, it seems to me. I would sit down with George and say, George, I love you. I want to work here forever, but I'm in a bad place, and so are you. The business is not going to do well if I leave, and you need to put a manager in. You're drinking. I can't stay. Sell me the restaurant. And see what he says. Ask him if he would sell you the restaurant. Now, I've sold restaurants to managers that have worked for me over the years, and the way I put those deals together is not that difficult. You don't have to write a check for hundreds of thousands of dollars. We put together a deal that says you're going to pay me X amount of dollars now, 10, 20, 30 grand, whatever it is you can come up with, and there's family and friends and investors and ways to put that small amount of down money together. And then you're going to sign a contract with me, and it says you're going to pay me X percent of revenues until you reach the sales price. So let's say George is going to sell you the business for 200 grand, just to come up with a number, Nick. And you're going to give me 20 grand now, so now you owe me 180 grand, right? You owe George 180 grand. Okay, I'm not going to tell you to pay me 10 grand a month, because if you have a lousy month, you're not going to afford to pay me the 10 grand. That's not going to work, right? But I'm going to make you pay me 10% of revenue every month. If you have a great month, I get a bigger check. If you have a shitty month, I get a smaller check. If it takes 40 months for you to pay me off, so be it. If it takes 30 months for you to pay me off, so be it. But when you hit the 180, we're even and the place is yours. I give you the title.
I like that.
I put a lien on it. If you don't pay me, I can take it back, right? So George is protected, right? If you don't pay him, Nick, and you only got to give him 10% of revenues. Remember, it's not a number you can't afford, because it goes up and down as your revenues do. Put together a package like that and see if George would be interested. Now, what does George get? George gets 10% of revenues, and he doesn't have any aggravation anymore. He can go be a fireman. If he wants to come in and drink, he can. Maybe you'll buy him a drink or two every once in a while. Everything works out great for George, and you wind up with the restaurant.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. It's better than sort of the ways I was looking at doing it with getting business loans or private investors to cough up the money, all right away.
Yeah, if you look at restaurant brokers and the way restaurateurs sell restaurants, particularly independent ones, almost in every case, the seller is taking paper. Right? That you're giving me a down, okay. I'm giving you a note to pay me off, and in the event you default on the note, I can take it back. That's where you're stuck, buddy. You got to make that payment. That's why I don't want your payment to be a fixed number. I want your payment to be 10%. So it goes up and down with your revenues. You'll never default on your note that way. Make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
All right, buddy.
That's great.
I gave you a plan. Good luck.
Thank you very much. I just want to also say thank you very much for everything you do for restaurant people. And the podcast really helped me get my whole staff and everyone through Corona and 3 months of quarantine. And it was, I could not have done it without listening to you guys every week. So I really appreciate everything you guys do.
Nick, thanks very much, buddy. That makes me feel terrific. Stay safe. Give me a
call.
call.
You too, my friend.
Give me a call in a few weeks. Let us know how this turns out. I'd love to talk to you again and see how this worked out for you.
I absolutely will. Thank you. Be well.
Take care. So, Nick is in a difficult situation. Think about it. He's got an owner who's drunk all the time. How do you deal with that, Corey? I mean, I know I'm a pain in the ass sometimes, but at least I'm a sober pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't know if I could deal with you drunk all the time.
So I mean, I feel terrible for him, but, maybe taking his boss out and doing a deal, and maybe Nick will wind up owning this restaurant. Who knows? All righty. I love talking to people that are really in the manufacturing side of the business. So this next caller is in Niagara Falls, New York. He's a brewer.
Hello?
Charles. Jon Taffer here.
Hey. Oh, shit. Hi.
What, I catch you by surprise?
I mean, I've listened to enough podcasts where I know that you're probably going to do that, but still, it's kind of surreal.
Well, you're a brewer, buddy. You should be prepared for the unexpected, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what's going on, man? So you're a brewer. You're in Niagara Falls. I love Niagara Falls. Years ago, many years ago, we had clients up there, and we used to go up there all the time. And I'll never forget how Niagara Falls, and you'll smile when I tell this story, Niagara Falls is the only place in the world where you're going to see what I'm about to explain to our listeners, and you'll smile when I tell this story, Charles. Because of duties and taxes, Canadians cross the border in Niagara Falls, and they do their shopping in America. But when they go across the border back to Canada, if you bought 10 pairs of pants and this and that, you got to pay duty taxes on it going back in, so you don't get the savings.
Oh, okay.
So what Canadians do is they drive down to Niagara Falls, they go to the malls, they go to the shopping centers, they buy new clothes, they take their old clothes, stuff it in the garbage pails in the restrooms in the malls, and wear the new clothes back to Canada so they don't pay the duty on it. Right? Am I correct, Charles?
I've never heard that or done that, so I'm going to trust you on that one.
So when you go into the restroom of a mall in the Niagara Falls area, particularly near the border, you'll see that the garbage pails are stuffed with clothing, which is the Canadians taking off the clothes they wore down to wear the new clothes back.
That's incredible. And we just usually stuff everything under the seats if we don't want to pay the duty.
Right. Well, I guess that works too.
I didn't say that. I've never done that.
No, of course not. I would never think that you would do anything like that, George. So talk to me, buddy. So you're a brewer, and what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. So I actually had two things that have really been on my mind. One has been I just kind of wanted to get your opinion on how you think COVID's been affecting like how we should be moving forward properly, because there's a lot, especially in my area, a lot of different breweries doing a lot of different things, and I agree with some of them. I'm a little hesitant on some others. It just kind of like their like how they're implementing changes. And also I'm a young guy. I'm only 25 and I've only been brewing for about a year. I've been bartending for about 5. But I am having kind of a problem with, maybe it's like asserting myself or trying to get like my ideas across to my the owners of the brewery that I work for. I've had this problem for like pretty much every job, is when I try to like ask them like, hey, you know, like we should be thinking about this, like seltzers, or we should be like, maybe we should be a little bit stronger for our restrictions for COVID, or you know, maybe we should up the bar program. Some of the bars like to like just give it that little bit of extra oomph. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of like laughed at almost, and just like dismissed, like, oh, you're like, you don't know anything. You're not like, I know better than you. And it's not like I know better than anybody. It's just like, I am having this problem where I'm just constantly dismissed. And I kind of wanted your advice on how to like maybe be more assertive, or,
you know, it's interesting that you say that, because, you know, I'm a guy who has young people that work for me often over the years, and in a lot of the businesses that I'm in. And, you know, sometimes young people can present somebody who's more experienced with a really stupid idea, right? Just because they're not as experienced. Sometimes a new employee can present a really stupid idea. But regardless of how stupid the idea might be, a great boss never lets the employee feel dismissed for trying to put forth any idea. So I would question the business logic and, candidly, the overall intelligence of your boss for diminishing you or making you feel unimportant or discounted when you're putting yourself forward, exposing yourself, and trying to do good for the company, whether the idea is stupid or not. The fact that an employee would feel that way is frickin' absurd. So I got to tell you, Charles, that there's a problem with any owner that does that. And the stupidest ideas of all, I'll typically look at somebody and say, no, we can't do that, but keep them coming, buddy. Keep them coming. And, you know, I'm always trying to encourage people to present new ideas. Corey, am I that way with you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you shut me down, and then you just, you know, and then I'll have a good one, and, you know, you'll keep driving me to keep coming back.
Yeah, but I never cause you not to want to come back with an idea.
Exactly, yep.
Or have I ever made you feel stupid for presenting an idea?
No, of course not.
So my point, Charles, is that that's really critical. And, you know, your boss should consider, because whether it's you or any employee, you want those ideas to keep coming. And if you come to me with 30 ideas this year, the dumbest things I've ever heard, Charles, but one of them is a killer idea, that's okay. I'll take the other 29. You know what I mean? It's worth it for me. So, you know, I would be concerned about that attitude as an owner. And I find in a craft beer business, and I'm going to get myself in trouble here, a lot of people enter the craft beer business because of ego and emotion. They're building this brand. It's all about their ego. They're building this distillery. It's very local. Their mom is going to see it. Their girlfriend's going to see it. All the local people are going to see it. It's consumer-based. And that ego sometimes gets in the way of open and logical thought. And I think the craft beer business particularly is very personal to the people who own these craft distilleries. And for that reason, I think that sometimes the ego gets in the way. I also want to add another point, Charles, which is a really important one.
Okay.
I consult to major beer brands, not only in America, but outside of America. And I consult at the board level to some of the biggest breweries in the world. And I'm going to tell you, there's only 3 or 4 brands in all of America that are projecting any type of sales growth for the next 2 years. And that statement predates COVID. So no matter what national brand you can think of, with the exception of a couple of Mexican ones, there is not one national beer brand that is projecting growth for the next 2 years. Most are projecting a 5% decline. Beer as a category is the weakest category in the beverage space. It's weaker than spirits, it's weaker than wine, it's weaker than seltzer, carbonated soft drinks. It is the weakest category in the entire beverage space. I would not invest in a brewery right now. I would not invest in a beer brand right now. I think that there's a shift going in the marketplace. And I think that some of these local brands can create a living locally, but they're not going to create $100 million brands in today's environment because the growth just isn't there as a category. So what's happened is other categories have benefited from it. Craft, the word now, fits whiskey almost as much as it fits beer. But yet the beer sector created it. Other things that's interesting is seltzer. Now, I have my Taffer seltzer. You know, the seltzer space, I think, was going to hit $2 billion this year, some astronomical number. It's growing 90% a month or something like that. All of those are
ridiculous.
Great many of those were beer drinkers. As a matter of fact, many of the products, not mine, are beer-based products. They're flavored beer in many cases, many of these seltzers. So White Claw is a malt beverage. It's a flavored malt beverage. It's a flavored beer, basically. You know, my seltzer is different. Mine is made from orange wine, so it's a different type of base and a different recipe approach. But my point is this. The beer category is not a high investment, highly desirable, highly growth category at this time. I thought you'd be interested to know that information.
Oh, yeah. No, that I totally agree with that. And at least in the States and now a little bit in Canada, at least from what I've seen, a lot of breweries are shifting to, at least this summer, to like house seltzers and like competing with, not competing with White Claw, but like trying to get the seltzers in their local market that have the kind of like more like crazier flavors than what White Claw can produce at like a mass scale.
Well, it's simple.
So it's kind of interesting to see.
The seltzer category is on fire. The beer categories at this point is in compression. So move the dollars to the seltzer, and that's what everybody's doing.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. You know, it's interesting. You got to put forth ideas with confidence, Corey. And, you know, whether you're old or young, if you look at me in the eyes with confidence and say, John, you know, I think we should consider this, or I think we should do that, that's really going to resound with me. You look at me in the eyes, Corey. You got confidence in what you're saying.
Right.
You know, it makes me really consider this. On the other hand, if you come up to me, you look down at the floor, you don't quite look me in the eyes and say, what do you think of this, or what do you think of that? Without confidence, I'm just not going to take it in a credible way.
Right. They're going to, laugh me off and go to the next thing. It's
like anything else, though, in life. We have to present it correctly.
Right.
And, you know, I call that reaction management. And those of you who haven't read Raise the Bar, my first book, that's what it's about, is the science of reaction management, understanding how to make people react to you in the ways that serve you best. And for whatever reason, Charles was unable to communicate those ideas in that way. And even Nick, in his Italian restaurant, you know, had a discomfort in the way he communicated with his boss and stuff. You know, I'm lucky. I have good communication skills. I know that. And I got it maybe from 30 years as a speaker, possibly, Corey, right? Standing at the podium, you see me give these speeches. You know, I have no script. I have no teleprompters. Right. You know, I stand there and I can talk for an hour, hour and a half, piece of cake. So I'm blessed. I have the gift of gab, and I have this just inherent ability to communicate well with people. I think that one skill has created my entire career, Corey, because I communicate well. Years ago, I could sell clients. I could do seminars. I could go to corporate board meetings. I could get in front of anyone because I knew how to communicate well. I knew how to communicate with confidence. It's all about communicating. Well, these are fun calls, Corey. It's always interesting to hear people's perspective. And you know what was great? Nobody was calling about the pandemic.
I know. I noticed that, yeah.
Every other group of callers we've had, it was pandemic this, pandemic that. How do I survive? How do I get out of it? How do I this? These are actually calls that were about a brother in the future, right? Buying a restaurant, right? A drunk owner. That had nothing to do with the pandemic. And a brewer who's trying to get ideas in front of his brewmaster. Yeah. So none of these were pandemic specific. So in as much as the numbers seem terrible, it seems that at least in those places, people are starting to move on. So I hope you're starting to move on too. You know, this podcast is very, very important to me. On TV, I don't get a chance to talk to you. You know, I only get a chance to talk to the people in the show. And this podcast is an opportunity that I have to really talk to you. And I hope you to talk to me. So if you want to be on the podcast, don't forget, send an email to podcast@jontaffer.com or just give us a call at 916-842-5180. Hang in there, California. I know this is a difficult time. This is the time for us to be considerate of each other. Give that some thought. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Subscribe to the Jon Taffer Podcast right now for more episodes every Thursday.